office in St. Louis, and we had a program that I administered, which was called Old Age Assistance. You know, it was like a horrible thing to be aged and in need. You had to be
Yes, I understand.
looked down, and I see TANF as the same under the belt, negative, you know, temporary assistance for needy families. Could we work around changing the name of the program, like Family Independence or something more uplifting?
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Okay.
And I want you to know that by law, families can only stay on TANF for 5 years. And that's
up to,
right, I meant the maximum. So, and I made that point several times because I think lawmakers believe these folks are on, you know, public assistance forever, and, you know, they're just encouraging more participation on the dole. And the fact of the matter is this program really is a hand up. And I think changing the name is a brilliant idea.
Actually, they're on 2 years, the Senator Barker, right? And then off, what, 1 or 2 years, and they can come back 1 more year. So actually, they have 3 years instead of 5 in Virginia, I think, right?
It's five, but only 2 years of anyone.
And in one stretch, but it is 5, yeah.
Well, with the economy tanking and TANF becoming unemployment compensation for them because they don't have that on their low-paying jobs, and TANF becomes unemployment rather than welfare. I'm honored to invite Delegate Lopez next. I was in Richmond on the day that the Dreamers bill to deny them in-state tuition was defeated. And I was in a room of about 300 people, and somebody came running in and said it just had been defeated. And the electricity in the air was incredible. So we thank you for your leadership on that issue and for all the good work you did. And if you would want to be next.
Sure. Hola gente, mi nombre es Alfonso López, soy el primer delegado del Partido Demócrata Latino en la historia de Virginia. Actually, I just said, my name's Alfonso Lopez. I'm the first Latino Democrat ever elected to the Virginia General Assembly. Don't laugh, that's incredibly sad. 400 years, that's like incredibly sad. Let me just preface everything by saying there's an 8-year-old boy in the background. He looks like me. He's got hair like I had when I was a very young man. Don't give him any more donuts. I believe he's playing Minecraft right now. I'm going to tell you about stuff that was great about this session. I'm going to tell you a lot about what was really bad about this session. And we'll get into the weeds during questions. But I was very proud of one thing I did that was not legislative based. It was creation of something called the Virginia Environment and Renewable Energy Caucus. For the first time, we brought together a bipartisan group of folks, both senators and delegates, to speak with activists, advocates, administration officials, industry, about ways that we can move the ball forward on the environment and renewable energy. And I say this often to the point where Adam Eben actually makes fun of me, but we should have been doing 25, 35 years ago what we're only thinking about now, which is embracing renewable energy. The fact is, we could be the best state in the Mid-Atlantic for renewable energy. Solar in the valley, wind off the coast, hydrokinetic in our rivers. The best place in America to grow switchgrass, which is a biofuel, is Martinsville, Virginia, a place in desperate need of jobs, especially farming jobs. And to touch on something that Steve said about how we all agree that climate change is now, something that's real, horse hockey. I had a debate on the floor of the House where I had an amendment simply to say that climate change is real, it's man-made, and it's in the best interest of the Commonwealth to actually address climate change. I had a 14-minute debate with a member of the Tea Party who said that climate change was a liberal hoax. I'm not joking. It was a liberal hoax. I felt very happy about the fact that my seat is right two rows behind him, and his video when he's going off about this was unusable because I was laughing so loud in the back, everything he was saying. I actually quoted I quoted NASA, I quoted the Royal Academy of Science, I quoted the National Academy of Science. He quoted 3 scientists paid for by the gas and oil industry. And he thought that was some kind of parody. But we have a long way to go, especially when we have the kinds of folks in the House of Delegates and State Senate that we have right now. The good, we actually got net metering up to 1 megawatt. The good, after 4 years of trying to help minority and women-owned businesses redefine what a small business is in Virginia, we finally got it passed. Finally. Right now, the definition of a small business in Virginia is, wait for it, 250 employees or 10 million in annual revenue. That's 95.6% of all businesses in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Has no idea about what actually a micro business is. There were no ways to address that. The governor finally did it last summer, after a lot of talking with him. But now we've taken the baby step of at least applying the federal size standards, the federal NAICS codes that the SBA puts out every 3 years, and applying them to how we do our businesses in the Commonwealth. It's a baby step. Electoral board issues regarding data. It's another baby step to actually trying to address some of the issues of addressing elections, and also to touch on something that Steve said. I gave a speech on the floor once where I said it was more likely to be struck by lightning in the United States of America between 2002 and 2008 than the Bush Justice Department was to prosecute an actual case of voter fraud. So it's a made-up issue. We all know it's a made-up issue, and it's all focused on them winning elections. I apologize, is this supposed to be nonpartisan? It's hard for me. Alcohol, something I thought would be a nothing burger issue, actually has gotten the most press for me this session regarding powdered alcohol. And the idea that we need to sort of address this and ban it in the Commonwealth because of the significant impact it could have and the ways that could be abused by kids especially. And then also I was very proud of the fact that my retaliatory eviction bill got passed this year after working with the Legal Aid Justice Society in the Commonwealth. I also found, however, that a lot of my success came from mocking the opposition. They actually put forward a weapons bill that was something straight out of a Victorian crime novel. It would have allowed the sale and purchase in Virginia of things like throwing stars, billy clubs, ballistic knives, which are basically knives and a stick that you can shoot out very quickly. And there were no age limitations, no limitations at all on who could buy these weapons. And only after talking about it on the floor did they come back and overturn their own passage by a party line vote in the House. And then also, as John mentioned, in-state tuition. Two of the ugliest, most wrong-headed bills in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, in my opinion, were put forward last year that would have overturned the Attorney General's incredible opinion that allowed deferred action for childhood arrival students to get in-state tuition. I like to call it the anti-DREAM Act. And it was close. It was incredibly close in the Senate, and they were waiting on Dick Black's bill. Dick Black and David Roundup, thank you very much. They're the ones who put it forward, and they're the ones who stuck by it. But the House wasn't going to move forward until the Senate bill got passed, because they didn't want the negative press. And we had champions like Barbara Favola and Adam Evan stand up on the floor and tell the truth. Tell the truth. And the fact is, what was the vote? Barbara? George, what was the vote?
It went down, but we had only 3 defections on the Republican side. So it was a
Just
close
enough.
vote, just enough. And we really had to work it.
You really had to work it. So I'm very proud of the work I did for the last 4 years. Actually, my family's been doing it since 1982 on this issue and the work we did with all the advocacy organizations. But the real heroes of that day were the Democratic senators who actually worked on the floor. So they deserve a round of applause for that. I'm going to actually tell you some of the stuff that didn't get passed, that should have passed. I'm not going to get into too much weeds, but Adam and I worked on a bill that would have banned access to people 4 years of age and under to firearms. More people, there's a quote that came out in Slates, that more people have been killed by infants, by guns, than terrorists in the United States in the last year. And it's an issue. When you have trained individuals, I don't know about that quote, but they have trained individuals who are teaching kids how to use an Uzi or an AR-15, and then they're killed by that child, because once you give a gun to an infant who does not understand the responsibility inherent in holding that gun, you've given up control. And the fact we can't pass a bill to say maybe it's wrong to give a 3-year-old who at this point, at the age of 3, is figuring out words for colors, figuring out parts of a story and understanding what time is. Maybe we shouldn't be training them how to use an AR-15. I also put forward legislation to ban, I love mood music, thank you for that, I appreciate it. I put in legislation to ban child labor on tobacco farms in Virginia. A report came out last summer basically saying that, from the Human Rights Watch, that Virginia right now is the 4th most prolific producer of tobacco in the country. And we have child labor working on these farms and getting acute nicotine poisoning. It was killed like that. Like that. And I'm going to keep putting it forward until it becomes a law of the land, because a lot of the time the people who are doing this are migrant labor, and a lot of the time those are Latinos. And I don't care if it's a Latino or African American, an Asian, a Mongolian. If a kid is doing this, because kids are not little adults, they are much more susceptible to these kinds of diseases, to acute nicotine poisoning, and to poisoning in general. So doing these kind of work, when